السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الصلاة خير من النوم. الصلاة خير من النوم. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربنا زدنا علما اللهم جرنا من النار. Inshallah, today we will be talking about another Imam Nawawi hadith. This one is hadith number 39, which talks about the overlooked matters. عن أبي عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إن الله تجاوز لي عن أمة الخطأ والنسيان وما تكرهوا عليه. حديث حسن رواه ابن ماجه والبهيقة وغيرهما. On the authority of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Verily, Allah has pardoned for me, my ummah, the following: their mistakes, their forgetfulness, and that which they have been forced to do under duress or under difficulty. Hassan Hadith reported by Ibn Majah and others. Before I get into anything about the Hadith, the strongest opinion for the phrase "for me," when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pardoned for me." So some of the scholars actually say that this is not part of the hadith, but it is part of the hadith because of the narrator, because someone has to say it. So that's why we have to say "for me." So this hadith establishes the principle that religion came to remove harm and establish special virtues given to the nation, as previous nations were held accountable for everything that they did. And this hadith is important in knowing that whether we do what to do in these situations, especially in fiqh. Imam Nawawi, may Allah have mercy on him, he said that he may have put it here to humbly say or request that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives his shortcomings in the compiling of this collection. So we have to look at the intentions of Imam al-Nawawi for what his main thought and goal of compiling all these 40 something hadith, 42 exactly, and what he wanted to do with it. He put it in a specific manner so that it goes in one theme. So in the beginning, Imam Nawawi collected hadith talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and niyyah. And then later on, he goes on to other brotherhood and forbidding evil and so on and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does forgive us, but it is not a must for him. He does so because we ask him to do so. So that should make us fear him more, as he is capable of treating us like he did with previous nations, overlooking forgetfulness, mistakes, and wrong actions under duress or under when a person is threatened depends on the rights of the one who is affected. The rights in Islam are related into three categories. Number one, starting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sins are overlooked in the perspective that the sin itself sometimes has a consequence in this world, and it has worldly rulings too. And such, for example, you are forced to utter kufr because you are under threat, and you are not doing a sin because you're not being treated as a kafir because you're doing it under duress. Number two, the rights of a community. Sins are overlooked, but there is a worldly punishment that will be implemented. Number three, the last one, rights of an individual. Sins are overlooked, and it depends if the individual will forgive you or not for your sin. So mistakes also in aqidah and fiqh can be also overlooked. Al-Sa'idi said that if someone makes a mistake in what they are commanded to do, then it is not overlooked in the dunya, since they must do it properly again. But if they make a mistake in which they were supposed to be prohibiting it, then it can be overlooked. So we should always look at the consensus and the opinion of the overwhelming majority of all the pious proceeders of this nation, and use that as our basis in determining right from wrong. When it comes to doing actions during duress or when someone is threatened, the person who is forced, you must have the ability to enact to what he is being threatened to. Otherwise, it is not considered that you are forced to do this action. The person who is being forced to do the action must. There are 2 points. One, not to be content with the action. He's not supposed to be happy with the action. This should make him sad. Number two, the lack of capability of repelling the person or of forcing him, such as if the person is like holding a weapon. So this is the person, the threatener who is trying to repel the person. So it differs from person to person what a valid threat is, and is depending on their capability whether they can bear it or not. So uh, not everything we are let alone because of something. Number one, there are some things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't let us go, such as uttering the statement of kufr. But some people have said that as long as you have iman in your heart and you only said it so that you can get out of the punishment or out of the threat, then that is okay. As long as you have iman in your heart, that's all that matters. Then number two, some scholars have said the action of kufr. There's a difference in opinion, but the strongest opinion is that they're all the same. It's the same thing as uttering the statement of kufr. Number three, killing someone. There are some cases where they can, which we will go over next time, for the next hadith, which the Prophet ﷺ specifies on some cases where the Muslim blood can be spilled. Then the killing someone, every believer has an equal right to live, so that you cannot take the life of someone to save someone else's. And the last one, doing a haram action to keep the better good. It is very necessary that you have to do this because it's a concession from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So main benefits and key points from this hadith: we should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for overlooking mistakes, forgetfulness, from actions carried out by this nation. Always seek forgiveness from certain individuals when you wrong them, even if it's unintentional, as they may not forgive you, and they will not forgive you on the day of judgment. Um, do not carry out an action or a claim that you are forced to do when the person forcing you is weaker than you and cannot carry out his threat or threatens you with something bearable. And if you are forced with something, ensure that you're always content with your heart. جزاك الله خيرا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.